And welcome to episode 3 of the Hurtbox podcast series. And thanks very much for joining us. Another great week lined up this week, and we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to start by saying thank you to Nathan Stewart for last week's interview. It was great. Lots of good feedback, and lots of good feedback in general as well. So keep it coming. Lots of negative feedback about Simon, so keep that coming as well. But look, really looking forward to this week, and a huge welcome to Craig Chapman. Look, Craig, as most people will know, is what I would call, or I called him the other day, the godfather of Newcastle cycling, and I think that's a very apt term. And look, we really need to sort of get into his career. So without further ado, Simon, did you want to go back through a few results of Craig's career?
Yeah, well, we might just call up Craig's short list of achievements, if you can see those on the screen. Yeah, we thought we'd step through those, both an international and domestic cyclists of renown, incredible results. What a list of accomplishments there. I'll let you read through those in your own leisure on the video, and some photos of the young man himself. Looks like here on the far left, he's gone through a very strict regime on his diet. What sort of weight were you carrying there, Craig, in that photo?
Well, that was the middle of a 2000k tour, and that was, I started at 75, I got down to 71. That was in 1988, that one. And yeah, so it was certainly pretty lean. You didn't realise it back then, though. You know, that's what everyone looked like in the bunch. So, and the thing was that the shirt, the sponsor, White Pages, who sponsored the team, they didn't really, you know, clothing wasn't tight fitting back then, especially the shirts. The nicks were, but yeah, so I had to tie a knot in the front of it.
And
Incredible.
Craig, that was the Commonwealth Bank Classic, mate?
Yeah, that was the stage between Foster and Maitland, that one. That was actually Maitland. Yeah.
And I think that's probably a real career highlight that we might get into in a sec. But if we probably just wind the clock back, mate, if we can, and tell us how it all started.
Oh, okay, well, I started in 78. My brother started in 77. And my dad used to race. He was a member of the Hunter District Club, one of the group of Cardiff riders that all started racing back in the 50s, mid-50s. Wow. And my brother took it up in 77. So I thought, you know, I was playing rugby league for Glendale Gorillas, went to Glendale High. And
what position were you playing?
I was a pacey winger.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't want to go into my rugby league career because one's real flash. Don't pass it to him, you know. No, I tell you what, every time I caught the ball, I scored a try.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but I played for about 4 years and scored 2 tries. So, yeah. So then my brother took it up, and so I took it up in 78 and I was supposed to go in the under-13s, and it was about August, and my dad entered me in the first race out at Killingsworth on the road, and I said to Dad on the way home, I said, I go to school, those guys. And he goes, oh, yeah. And I said, they're 2 years older than me. How come I'm racing them? He goes, oh, I entered you in the old age group, registered you in the old age group. You'll be right. So, yeah, that was my first race. I was riding guys 2 years older than me. So,
wow.
And how did you find that first experience, mate? Did you just love it straight away? Had you trained before it, or?
No. I wasn't into it, to be quite honest. I just did it because that's what everyone was doing. So
your dad's lined you up on a smacking course and a smacking race with guys 2 years older than you.
Yeah.
Fond memories.
First ever race.
And what was the bike?
Big fun.
What was the bike?
It was just a Reynolds, a track bike come road bike, because we used to be single speed back then, and in the winter you had a ratchet, and on the summer you turn the wheel around, it was a fixed wheel. So it was just a very basic Reynolds steel bike. Yeah.
So when did you realise that this was a sport for you then? After that,
well, I wasn't very good. And then I said, no, I was hopeless. But Dad must have saw something. So when I said to him, I'm not racing a track. And he goes, no, you'll be right. Don't race a track. So we raced the road in the winter. There was only 60 cyclists in Newcastle. Very few.
Wow.
And in the summer, there was no road racing. Hunter District raced at the track on the Townsend Oval on a Tuesday night and the Velodrome on, I can't remember. It was twice a week we had track. And I used to go to the track and I was so scared that the older guys would come and pass me. I used to go to the front all the time. And I thought, are these blokes going to come around me? You know? And they never come around me. And then everyone's going, mate, you're winning everything. And I just went, ooh. It was a real shock. So it was purely out of fear that, you know, I started going okay. So, yeah.
Wow.
But you weren't very good at it. Yeah.
Well, that was 6 months into it. And because I'd raced, our racing was at Killingsworth, Wakefield and over the hills out there. So, yeah, and I'm racing these older guys and they just take off up the hills and I'd end up with, you know, all the riff-raff and coming on my own. So, yeah.
And, mate, when did it first start to kick off in terms of, you know, that list that Simon put up there before, you know, towards the end of the 80s, but earlier than that, junior state titles and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, funny, like I was at my first event. So there's 2-year age groups, right? So under 13s were, and then you go to under 15s, it's 2 years. So by the time everyone had come into my age group, the ones that were supposed to be there, I was the younger age of that age group, and I rode the country championships at Dubbo track championships, and I was like a sprint, and it was a 4-up final. But the kids are all still a year older than me, and I made the final, and I come fourth, and everyone's going, "That's amazing! You're the fastest first year." That type of language, and I went, "Oh, really?" Yeah, it was just a shock. And then next year, I won the state championship for my age group. And it was a state record back then at Hurstville Oval, the last 200 metres, and that was in 1980.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and then I realised, you know, I had a bit of power, but I think the old man saw it well before I ever did. Mm.
Look, and was your old man into the coaching side of things back in those early days?
Oh, no. We were just experimenting. We did everything wrong for years, you know. But you didn't know back then, you know. Yeah. So what happened?
Was that like 10 repeats of Sugarloaf in the 53-12 or something?
No, I've got those. Oh, hang on. Just hang on. I've got it all written here.
Yeah. They're the training diaries. Oh, what's happened